So I'll introduce the podcast, introduce Sterre. Say hi, Sterre.
Hi, Michael.
Okay, this is going to be tricky. Okay, Gabriel, I'm going to start now. Don't need to do that. Hi, welcome to Manufacturing Matters, the podcast series where we talk about matters around manufacturing. Today, I'm joined by Sterre, who's in charge of BeNeLux, so Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, for Factbird. She's very experienced, and she's also been going around saving manufacturers lots of money by improving their productivity. Welcome, Sterre.
Hi, Michael.
Nice for you to join today.
Of course.
And today we're talking about sustainable packaging. So you've had a lot of experience with this, with I think in particular food and bev manufacturers.
Yeah, that's right. I think in BeNeLux, the food and bev industry is what we're most focusing on.
So I wanted to ask, what are the challenges with sustainable packaging? But first of all, what is sustainable packaging and why is it so important right now?
So I think what we figured out is that packaging in general is a very big issue in the manufacturing space. Every time we work with new companies, we see that a big part of, for example, their downtime is due to changing the film or foil on packaging lines, but also certain labels or stickers not really being suitable for the product, which is difficult, of course, because machines are made a certain way and you can adjust them, but it's never like a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And I think lately everything, of course, is becoming more expensive and there's a lot more focus on environmental changes and being more sustainable as a production site.
Yeah.
Food and beverage in general has higher scrap rates than other industries. So for them, it's even more important to make sure that they keep that as low as possible. And sustainable packaging is a part of that. Can be very challenging because it can be more expensive. And then what do you define as sustainable packaging, right? Like, does it mean that plastic is always wrong? Not necessarily. You can do completely recycled plastic. Glass can also be bad for the environment, but then again, we all think that's better as well. So I think for every type of production, it's a big struggle on like, how do we go about this? And yeah, especially in food and beverage, because a lot of food is not just packed in a box. It's like put in a bottle or in a tin or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's not always possible to do that sustainable.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people in the world. People eat a lot of food, lots of different types of foods, and there's almost an unlimited amount of different types of packages that the food goes into. And in particular, food and bev, right, the margins are a big thing. So it's not like pharmaceutical sort of manufacturing industry where the margins are a bit higher. Obviously, there's a lot of risk involved with pharmaceuticals because of research. But with food and bev, it's like you really got to optimize costs, like hardcore.
Yeah. So the margins are much lower, and you just see that a lot of manufacturers, of course, it is more popular brands. Like, in the Netherlands, we have a brand called Hela Spice. And they make a very famous sauce. I think everyone in Europe knows them. Okay. And they want to go to glass bottles now. But it's just very difficult because margins are very low. And of course, there's other competitors trying to remake the sauce as good as they can that just put it in plastic bottles and, care a little bit less, I would say. So it makes it very hard for them to still adjust. Certain things are also not allowed safety-wise. Like certain things have to be sealed in a specific way for it to be like food safe.
Yeah.
So it's not always possible. For them right now, they're actually trying to like rinse out their own used bottles and then reuse them again in the factory. So that's a very sustainable way of still saving money. But like you say, the margins are very low. So just switching from plastic to glass can be a very expensive thing to do. Needing new machinery for it, maybe.
Oh, yeah. And I'm guessing a machine would cost like €1 million something to
I don't know. But usually they have to find different like filling things to put on the machine so they can fill the bottles. And some machines take it better than others. You see very often that bags getting sealed sometimes fall through if it's not good material.
Yeah.
We have seen a cookie producer in BeNeLux as well that found out using like the Factbird system that the packaging was very slippery and they didn't really know. And they found out like seeing that the product wasn't behaving well. And in that case, they found out this packaging just doesn't work on this machine. whereas for others it did because it was paper and this was plastic. So it's very like finding out what fits on the machines as well and what can we do in terms of sustainability.
Exactly. So that's a good segue into the main question I wanted to ask. So we know what sustainable packaging is in the industry. So there's a lot of demand for it from consumers and regulation and all that. But it puts pressures on costs, which means you need to be more efficient. Yeah. So what are the challenges though then that manufacturers are facing with sustainable packaging? Have you got some other specific examples of challenges people have faced when they've made switches from like plastic to glass? Or
I think sometimes it doesn't work always. Like a lot of them go from tape to paper tape on boxes, for example. Doesn't stick very well. Also, I hear a lot that they have to buy it in bulk. So they would then buy a new package or packaging shape or form and invest in that and then have a lot of that in their warehouse when actually it's not particularly the right solution. They do a lot of testing. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of judgments anyway. Like I said, the safety thing is a big challenge.
Yeah.
Like you can decide we're doing this in glass, but maybe a supermarket is like, well, we don't really want glass bottles in the shelf here, or
it probably also increases the weight for transport as well.
Well, exactly. Yeah. There's actually another one, the Kuiper in the Netherlands. They actually have their liquor in this case also in like heavier glass bottles.
Yeah.
For the reason that it's like a premium brand, right? So it's really part of the branding.
Yeah.
And that's also tough, making choices like, okay, are we gonna go for like a less invasive for the environment type of glass bottle, or are we gonna stick to this premium quality thing that we have? Like what choices do we make in there to be sustainable, but also keep our brand as it is with the quality that it has?
Yeah.
So I think that's also a big challenge towards the rest of the world.
Yeah, so switching from plastic to glass bottles is a big challenge. So in terms of cost and weight and also using thinner glass can affect your branding if you're a premium brand.
Yeah.
Labeling was an issue. Yeah, so the glue may not work the same, or the different type of labels.
Yeah, and going paper, from plastic to paper. A lot of people go from plastic tape to paper tape, or from certain boxes, plastic boxes to cardboard boxes. All of that is like, a challenge for them.
Are all of these challenges surprises for the customers that you've worked with? They didn't expect it, or do they tend to do quite thorough testing beforehand?
I think they do testing. I do think that they have figured out that there is a lot more that comes to it. Like you probably think you tackled one problem, like you found a new type of tape, but then you might not have tested it on every product. So then you find out on this and this it doesn't work, or then you find out that your machine that grabs something, for example, doesn't really like grabbing glass as it's more slippery than grabbing plastic. That we've also seen. So yeah, I think that's the main thing, that you can never test everything beforehand.
No.
So it's really trial and error and making your own choices in what you want.
Yeah, so it's quite complex making stuff, and there's many variables within that. So yeah, like if a machine isn't fit for purpose, so you're trying to use something slightly different, then the whole system can fail because of one part.
Yeah, basically. And you will have a lot of rework. And of course, that's also like not very sustainable. So you have some companies that then try something new, but if this new product just keeps being stuck or being wasted, then it's great that you're using paper, but if you're then throwing all of that out anyway, well, there you go with your sustainability. Then you could have stuck with your first initial solution, right?
Yeah.
So we see that a lot with like film and foil changes. Then.
Yeah.
If they change that and it gets stuck, then, well, a lot of plastic just goes to waste for nothing. That can't be reworked either.
Yeah, so that's a huge part of improving sustainability, is reducing waste. And that transition period of changing to different packaging methods can be quite costly in terms of waste.
Yeah.
Are there any recommendations that you would give people in the manufacturing industry who are making, I guess, in particular, food and beverage sort of products?
Well, I think we've seen some places where they're now like reusing crates for like the final packaging thing. So instead of having like pallets and then having everything in foil, they kind of have like these constructions of crates where stuff is put in, and then it's all those crates just go kind of like a reusable system.
Yeah.
I think that's a great step, and I can see that's definitely working a lot in like the vegetable bit of the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe just test it out on every product before like implementing something like that.
Yeah. So don't bulk buy stuff, assuming it's going to work as
For
well.
example.
Yeah. And I know it's interesting that you mentioned the crates. I used to work with a company from New Zealand with an old startup that I worked with called Pallet Earth, and they actually put like IoT trackers. So they track pallets for moving products around.
Yeah.
Because that can make sense now, and
Exactly.
yeah, for improving sustainability. Okay,
That's a good idea as well.
that's a good idea. So thank you so much for your time, Sterre. I've got a lot more questions for you, but I'll ask them in a separate podcast. And thank you for listening. Cool, man. How was that, Gabriel?
I think that's good.